Hello, my name is Mary, and today we're going to be discussing The Sea of Monsters. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson series, so if you haven't read the first book or seen my review on it, go read it and then come back. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson series, like I already said, and it was a great sequel. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I gave it this score because it was a great sequel. It really set up the major points for the plot line that is going to develop throughout the others, but it also rushed us through the quest very quickly without a lot of explanation. And the first book really explained things pretty clearly because it was the first introduction into this world, but you get so much information crammed into 279 pages, and it's a fairly thin book. It's smaller than all of the others in the series, and it has so much packed into it. The humor in the first book was slightly overwhelming, as you can tell from my first video. I was saying, this was hilarious, this was hilarious, this was hilarious, over and over and over again. Well, this one was very underwhelming. The comments going on inside Percy's head were not as witty as it was in the first book. But overall, this was a great sequel and a great addition to the series. So now we're getting into the spoilery section. So if you haven't read this book, go read the first one, then read this one, and then come back. So Percy has a brother, which I get that he's a demigod, so he's going to have siblings. I mean, Annabeth and Clarice have tons of siblings. But he has a brother, and he's one of the... Percy is a child of the big three who aren't supposed to have kids anymore. So that was a big surprise, especially that he was a Cyclops. I mean, okay, I get it, Percy, I get it, that he was a little disfigured, but you spent the entire year with him, you were his only friend, and you didn't once glance at his eyes? I mean, you of all people could have been the one to find out that he was a Cyclops. But no, you didn't find out until you took him to Camp Half-Blood. And then you were embarrassed of him for half the time. So, that's kind of a low point for you, Percy. Clarice in the first book, and she is portrayed as a bully. Well, we get to see her a little better in this book, and we get to see a little bit of why she's a bully. In the end, she's just like any of the other demigods. She's trying to make her father proud. So we become a lot more clear on what the mist is, but it still presents itself as a bit of a mystery. I mean, you get to see what it does and how it affects things, but you also can't really tell who sees what. So I get that maybe a human could be able to look past the mist, but all of the kids in Percy's gym class could see that these were monsters. I think that's a little bit of a plot hole there. I don't know about you, and I'm kind of hoping it explains it better in the other books that I don't even remember what happens in those at this point. So. Also, did anybody pick up on that the science teacher's name is Miss Tesla? As in Nikolai Tesla. The first time I read this book, I thought it was insanely funny. But now when I reread it, I feel that it just tried too hard to be funny. And so it didn't flow as well. Having Grover in a wedding dress telling Polynices that he is a lady Cyclops, so wearing a goat-smelling perfume so he won't get eaten, is insanely funny to a middle schooler. 13-year-old me could not stop laughing. But I'm 18 now, and so it seems a little forced. 13-year-old me cracked up laughing reading this book, so he does reach his intended audience, which is great because that's what he's pushing for, is the middle grade kids. However, the first one branched out to so many more people. I still read it. There are people older than me that read it. There are parents who like this and people younger who like it. And so I really think that the fact that the first book reached so many age groups, this one being so target oriented to middle grade, really could have stopped people from reading the rest of the series. I do, however, think that people of all ages can appreciate the Annabeth pretending to be Odysseus saying, "I am nobody," and then Polynices getting mad because nobody got away the first time. that also adds to the learning element of this series. And again, my freshman year of high school, we did the Odyssey, and this book really goes through a lot of Odysseus's adventures in the Odyssey. And so because I had read this book, I really understood what was going on in the Odyssey far better than most of the people in my grade. And I could pronounce a lot of the stuff better. Maybe not perfectly, but better. Now, the ending was such a surprise for me. I was expecting Thalia to come out of the tree right away. And so I kind of gave up hope after she didn't come out right away, and then it's like a week after they're back in camp, and then the fleece has worked its magic too well, and there it is, and I was just like, but I gave up on that idea! And so it was really nice for my idea to be right, but I had given up on it, so I still got surprised. And she came out looking all punk rockery, and she had those lightning blue eyes, and I was like, I want to be her, that is so cool. Unfortunately, I can only pull off the prep librarian look, not the punk rock look. So, what can you do? Because the prophecy talks about which they haven't given to us in full yet, but they said it was about a half-blood of the big three gods reaching the age of 16. And so Thalia is 15 when she comes out of this tree. So Percy might actually be off the hook for this. But we don't know because the story ends there. Which was classic Rick Riordan cliffhanger. That was pretty cool. Because I was so excited to get my hands on the next one, which I had. So I went to school the next morning, I picked up the book, and I read it. That's what I did. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button. And leave a comment down below telling me which of the monsters, if it was a nice monster like Tyson, would your sibling be, or does your sibling remind you of?